concern for our children is built into our religion. It's a very fundamental aspect of our deen. And it's something that generation after generation after generation of Muslims were very good at. Alhamdulillah, we're very, very good at raising children for generation after generation after generation. Obviously the world has changed since the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but some things, the success the Muslims have had in raising their children relatively has been great. Until now. Something has changed in the world so drastically that it's affected not just how governments are run, it hasn't just affected how the economy works, it hasn't just affected how nations deal with each other, it hasn't just affected industry, it's also affected what happens inside the house. Not just the Muslim house, every house. The world has changed dramatically. What the family looks like now, it never looked like in human history. It never looked like that in human history. How children are raised now, it never looked like this in human history in any culture. Not just Muslim culture, in any culture. Globalization and the advancement of mass communication, and then on top of that the invasion of the extreme form of consumerism. I don't even say capitalism, I say consumerism. That we've become just addicted, customers of products. That mentality has invaded, it's made itself even inside our home. I'll give you a small example of what I'm talking about. Your children, now many of you are parents here, your children, what do they ask you for the most? What do they ask you for all the time?
Candy.
Candy? MashaAllah, you have some really righteous kids, they only ask you for candy?
Nintendo.
Okay, Nintendo, you gotta keep up a little. iPod, PlayStation, car, really? They got older? Car, toys. Most of the time, where did they get news about the iPad? Did they see it in a dream? Like Yusuf alayhi salam saw a dream, 11 stars, sun in the moon, so they saw a dream, there's an Apple product. Ya abati inni ra'aytu tufahan ala hatifin. Like, Dad, I saw an apple on a phone. What does that dream mean? No. Where did they see the iPhone? Either their friends have it, or they saw it on TV. They saw other friends have it. Then they say, I want to get those sneakers. I want to get a shirt. I want to get that shirt. I want to get that toy. Where did they get that toy's idea from? Where did the ilham come from? It came from media. We expose our children to media, and in that media they're told to basically beg us to get them those toys, and we get them those toys. And by the way, they're not just the only victims of that, we are victims of that too. The brands we wear, actually you feel really high class when you wear an expensive watch all of a sudden. You feel like you're more worth of a human being. Before that you were, the moment you walk out of the Apple store with an iPhone in your hand, all of a sudden you just start looking more handsome. Something happened. I don't know how I got cooler like this, but it just happened. We actually assume that our worth as human beings is related to these products. And if you're not wearing brand name clothes, and you don't have that kind of a phone, or you don't have this toy or that toy, that you're worth less. Somehow you're not equal to others. Others are better than you. Just because the things they have in their hand are better than the things you have in your hand. Right? Even Muslims, we've become pretty much zombie consumers. When we talk about raising our children in this society, we have to first understand what's happening with the world. What's happening with all of us and with the world, before we can think about raising our children effectively. So that's one big problem. The second big problem is, what does success mean? Well, this one is, what is your worth? What are you worth? Nowadays, our children are being raised to think all they are worth is these products. The brand of clothes, the kind of house, the kind of car your parents drive, drop you off to school at, the brand of the book bag you're wearing, that sort of thing. That's all you're worth. And then on top of that, the additional problem is, what does it mean to be successful? Our idea of success even 20, 30, 40 years ago was, for the vast majority of the Muslim world, maybe some of you did not have a good opportunity for education, or your parents did not have a good opportunity for education, and they put all of their effort in getting you a good education. And you've learned that lesson in your life, so you say, my children better have top-notch education. If that means they have to go to private school, If that means that we have to rent a house, rent an apartment and live uncomfortably so they can get a good education, we will do it. If that means we have to take an insane amount of money for loans to put them in an Ivy League school and to put them into an expensive med school or to put them into an elite program, we will do it. Why? Because the most important part of your success is what? Your education. And the children here, they're told by their parents this over and over and over and over again. You have to have an education. You will be a failure in life if you don't get a good education. You have to finish college, then you have to finish this, and you have to finish that. And if you're from the Indo-Pak subcontinent, obviously if you're not a physician, then you have failed. And you should not expect anything from this dunya. Now the only thing left for you is akhirah. And your parents will never be happy with you now because you are not a surgeon or you're not, even don't be a dentist. Dentists are humiliating. Just don't even bother with that, right? So that's what we've done. By the way, why is it that being a physician is so important in a certain segment of our community? Do you know why? Because it pays the most. It's not because you get to save lives or because you're serving humanity. That has nothing to do with it. If doctors were paid the same salary as bus drivers, the Desi community would not be crazy about making their children doctors. There's no hirs, there's no zeal to get our children to become, saviors for the world. No parents are so happy when their son becomes a doctor. Then he says, I'm going to Doctors Without Borders for 3 years. I'm going to go serve Doctors Without Borders in flood-ridden areas for 3 years. I'm going to go to Somalia, then I'm going to go to Pakistan, I'm going to go to Bangladesh, then I'm going to go to Malaysia, and I'm going to serve no salary, non-for-profit work. These parents are going to say, Ya Allah, we put all this money in to make you a doctor, and this is what you do? You should have been part of the same blood-sucking machine that the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies are a part of. That's what we wanted you to do. Why are you saving lives? What's wrong with you? That's what we've become. Honestly, we have to look in the mirror. What are we creating? Something has fundamentally changed. Our idea of success has become money. Our idea of education has become a career that makes a lot of money. Everything comes back to money. If you're successful, it means you have a lot of money. If you're successful, it means you have an education. Education in what field? A field that will give you a good career, which means you will have good money. That's what success is now. Everything comes back to this. That's it. Now this is different from old times. This is different from old times. In old times, to have an education means to understand yourself, to understand the world around you, and to contribute to making the world a better place. And to make the world a better place, sometimes you have to study history. Sometimes you have to study sociology. Sometimes you have to study political science. Sometimes you have to study media. Sometimes you have to study journalism. You have to study a variety of fields to contribute to society. Not one field. Not one field. By any measure, the most successful communities in the United States are the ones that did not limit their children to one field. One of my friends tells me, if Steven Spielberg was in a Pakistani household, he would have been a doctor. Right? He would have been a doctor. Why? Because we don't... What do you mean you're going to film school? What's wrong with you? Are you failing medicine? You're going to give your parents high blood pressure.
Allah Azza wa Jal describes, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا. When they spend money, they don't go in excess. Meaning you just need one bag, but you want to get 3 because you like all 3 colors. Or you're going to go to the grocery store to get eggs, but by the time you came back, you spent $200 because you start stuffing everything in the cart. That's a kind of israf. You didn't need it, but I might need it. I might need this too. I might need this too. And you just tell yourself that you want it or you need it, but you don't really need it. And then some people, because of that, they have a hoarding problem. Like they can't even fit all their clothes in a closet. Or, their pantry is just overflooding with stuff that's from 1987. People collecting things, people unnecessarily collecting and hoarding things that they don't actually use and don't actually put to work. This is a kind of israf that people suffer from. And so sometimes it's, you can tell for yourself if you're suffering from some form of israf, like hoarding, if you go home and you find small little trinkets everywhere and you don't know where to put them and you don't know what they're for. If you just go around your house looking at what's the purpose of this thing? What is it for? And you have a bunch of those things, then you're probably suffering from israf. So it can become a real problem for a person to collect and collect and collect, or to want more and more and more. Eating and spending and hoarding, and of course, israf can be in entertaining yourself. It's okay, everybody needs a mental break at some point. If you've been studying for 6 hours, you need a break. You can play some video games or something, or watch something on social media, or to go play outside, play sports, or whatever. Take a small mental break, that's fine. But for some people, their life is a mental break. And that's all it is. They wake up and they entertain themselves. They go to sleep and they entertain themselves. They're clicking away and tapping away and swiping away all day. Hours go by. And that's all that's going on. That's a kind of israf. Being in touch with somebody is okay. But living on WhatsApp is a problem. So there's balance. There's limit to things. And then there's excess. And this excess is actually a really serious problem. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the least problematic or the least threatening language, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Certainly Allah does not love those who do israf.
Free Quran Education relies on you. A $10 monthly donation keeps our Islamic content afloat and free for anyone